All right, guys, welcome back to the BS Machine. Really cool episode this week. This week, I have got a really cool episode because a few weeks back, I went and tried colonic irrigation, and I was a bit iffy about it because a lot of people were sort of have talked about it, and I used to do it ages and ages ago, and I was so surprised with the benefits I had just after 3 sessions, and I was sort of so intrigued about it that I wanted to get the guys on where I went to in Melbourne. They're in Armidale. It's Colin Irrigation or Colonic Irrigation Melbourne, and they were so helpful. So I really wanted to get Niecha on, who's like, she's she's sort of like the powerhouse behind this thing, and she really explained everything to me there, and I think it's so important. Not just I mean, just because I'm a dude, I find that a lot of men don't do this stuff, but I think with women, so whether you're a man, woman, whatever, I think it's so important to really understand what colonic irrigation actually does. And so I want to get these guys on and really sort of dive into it because there's a lot of stuff around, a lot of fear and whatever else around this stuff. So I wanted to sort of dive in, and I've got Niecha Joseph here. Niecha, welcome to the BS Machine, babes.
Hey, babes.
How are ya?
I'm good, babe. How are you?
Good. So what, are you at the clinic now?
I am. I'm at the clinic in Armidale on High Street.
Very cool, very cool. So,
Yeah.
look, I mean, you would see. Actually, first off, I'd love to know what your sort of story is and how you got involved in it, and whether you did it because there was stuff sort of happening in the body and you were looking for ways out,
Mm.
or how did you sort of get even learn about this sort of work?
When I was younger, went to this retreat in Byron Bay, and they do, the juice cleanses there, and they do the colonics. You do the 3 colonics there, and meditate and all that stuff. And that place is my heaven on earth. And I went there a couple of times, and the person I walked in there as and the person I left was completely different. I just felt so much better. In the gut, you've got about 70% of your emotions are formed in there. So, just doing the colonics. And my first one, I remember I was just like, wow, what was that? My mum had sent me there. I called her and I was like, Mum, where have you sent me? She's like, stick it out. And I left feeling the best I'd ever felt. So then I had this job. I'd been back a couple of times and I couldn't get away to go back to the retreat this year. And I really wanted to do another cleanse. And I started getting this adult acne, and I'd always had perfect skin. And I was like, what's going on? So I wanted to do a cleanse. And so I came in here as a client and I did what I call the ultimate cleanse. I did a juice cleanse for 7 days, 3 colonics, and 3 infrared saunas, which we also have here. And my skin cleared up and looked the best it ever had. And all my friends are going to me, what foundation are you using? And I'm like, it's colonics, I'm telling you. And I see that in so many of my clients coming in, and they're like all of a sudden got these, skin issues, and doing this big cleanse and it transforms it. So that's kind of how I got started here, and have the passion for it. So it
Yeah,
worked for me too.
yeah. And so, how long's it been since you've been sort of, well, not just working there, but using colonics as a way to, I guess, get rid of the shit?
Yeah. So I was 21 the first time, and I'm 31 now. So
Yeah.
10 years, and I swear
Wow.
by them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've been working at the clinic for about 3 years now.
Very cool. You know what's
Mm,
interesting when you were talking about emotions is that
mm,
when I was on the bed, and it's such a weird feeling because you sort of walk in and then you've got to like stick this tube up your ass, and then you're sort of sitting there going, "Fuck, that feels a bit weird,"
yeah.
and then you sort of sit back. But the first session is definitely a bit weird. Like you feel all sorts of stuff. But what I noticed is that about halfway through in my first session, like I felt certain emotions coming up,
Yeah.
and it was I'm like, all right, why am I feeling fucking angry here? And then
Yeah.
even physically, there was like I had this moment where sweat was like coming out of my shoulders. So I'm going, all
Yes.
right, what the hell is going on? And it's like this weird feeling where you really start, because the yogis, which I'm obviously involved in yoga and all that type of stuff, the yogis always say that we have a brain in a number of parts in our body, and obviously we've got the brain here, we've got the heart brain, but they'll also talk about the gut brain where a lot of emotions are stored. So can you, I don't know, give us a heads up on that, why emotions come up as well when you start to clear out the shit in the belly, in the guts.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most important things to know about gut health in general. People forget that how related it is. When I say 70%, that's a huge part of, your emotions being formed in your stomach. So gut health in general, is really important. So obviously with the colonic, you're clearing all of that out. We hold like 1 to 4 kilos. An average person of built up waste in there fermenting, and it's, deters from our good gut health. And there's generally an overgrowth of bad bacteria, which, can cause anxiety and all sorts of things. So when someone's on the bed, sometimes they don't even expect it. I've seen it before where they walk in, they're just here for a detox or a cleanse out, and then they come out and they're like, wow, I just had this release of trauma or something that they've been holding on to for years. And it's a big emotional release, and tears can come and everything. And I see people walk in a mood and grumpy because they're holding on to all this stuff and come out with spring in their step.
Yeah.
They're a whole new person. So yeah, it's so interrelated, the stomach with your emotions.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when you're talking about this, we're holding on to 1 to 4 kilos of excess waste.
Yeah.
How, like, where does that, so when you put that tube up your ass, right, and the water sort of trickles up, what is that going through the stomach, or what's it actually going through?
Just going up into the colon. So your colon's so large, and we're holding on to that much. Your first session, you're only really cleaning out the tail end.
Yeah.
That's why we recommend doing the 3 close together, so that you can cleanse everything out. If you
how big's the colon? Like, how long is it? Like, is it
everyone's different depending on the size of your body, but almost as long as you are tall. So it's our, second biggest organ other than our skin.
Yeah.
And that's like, how you're saying you start to sweat. You're basically forcing your body into this detox. So when you start to sweat, we're forcing out the toxin and the waste out of the colon. You start to sweat as well because your body wants to eliminate it. So yeah, it's the first one, you're moving a lot, but I've had people that have weighed themselves afterwards and they've literally lost that 2 to 4 kilo mark. Every time I do a cleanse, I lose about 2 kilos. It's not of, fat. That's a waste that we're holding on to.
Yeah.
So it can get rid of bloating as well and things like that. But, imagine that sitting inside you, fermenting and what it would do to you. So, we have people that are sporting stars, for instance, that feel that they're more energized and perform better and things like that because you're not carrying around that excess weight. If you were to have food allergies, for instance, and you'd eaten bread weeks ago, and you stopped eating it, you're still holding it in there. Your body hasn't completely broken it down. So you're wondering why you're still reacting. You still feel like you've eaten that bread just yesterday. So people come in here and they clear it out, and then, they start to feel the results.
Yeah, yeah. So interesting, isn't it? So what about this, I got so many questions around it because, with all that stuff, like, I mean, I remember after the first time, there's 2 things I want to talk about. One is after the first time, I walked out and I was like dizzy and I felt just fucking weird the whole day. Right. I was just white, and I'm like, I don't know if this is good for me. But then I did the second session, like literally, I think it was the day after or 2 days later or whatever. And after that one, I came out, I'm like, holy shit, like I got full goosebumps. I'm like, I just want to like take shit on. Like I felt so good. And each time I did it in those 3 sessions that I did, each time it felt like I cleared more stuff out and there was more space. But then what I also found interesting is that the more I sort of felt stuff, the more I was talking about it to my mates. And then I started to find out there's this like taboo around colonics, and people are like, oh, don't do that because it's, they didn't tell me any technical stuff, but they're like, don't do that. And then one of my mates even said, dude, why don't you just get that drink that drink or whatever that they give you before you have a gastroscopy or whatever when they stick
Yeah,
that
colonoscopy prep. Yeah,
So and I'm like, well, I don't know, that doesn't feel as natural to me. It feels sort of forced or
big time.
something. I don't know. Is
Yeah.
that what are the sort of
Definitely. I have a lot of people that opt before a colonoscopy to come in here because they might actually have an allergy to that prep because it is quite toxic. It's rough
mm,
stuff. This is gentle water cleansing you out.
mm,
An important thing to know as well is that there's two types of colonics. And that's where a lot of the kind of, I guess, taboo come from. So we're an open system here, which is just all gravity fed water. So it's just like a gentle tap cleansing you out. It's been around for hundreds of years, you know.
mm.
And then there's also the closed system. The closed system, they help insert the tube for you, and it's more of like a pressurized hose and helping you suck out the waste. So here, basically, what happens is the water goes up into the colon, it starts softening the waste, so it gently wants to move on its own, and then you naturally release it.
Mm.
So it's just softening all that waste in there.
Yeah, yeah. And
Mm.
yeah, even with that, I remember when I was like lying on the bed and you're on the bed for, about an hour or whatever. And then when you're first on there, like obviously as the water comes out, it goes up your colon and you do a couple of like good shits like when it
The
comes
best
out
ones.
at the start. But then it's like just water for a while and then you
Yeah.
notice that then after it's like about halfway through, then you get this other like whole load of shit coming out. But then
Mm.
the cool part is, I don't know if they have it everywhere, but there's this like glass tube where you can actually see
The
what's
view
coming out.
tube.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm looking at this tube going, wow, that's inside me. Like, what the
You've been
fuck?
holding on to that for how long?
Crazy. And
Big
so
time.
totally makes sense why you release not just physically, but you release so much emotionally as well. You
Big
know,
time.
and so what are some of the well, even on that taboo thing, well, not even taboo, but what are the main things that people, I guess, what are the main things that people are fearful of in terms of coming in and getting this done? Because everyone knows what it is and everyone
Yeah.
fucking talks about it. So what are the things
Yes.
that people are the most fearful of?
I think it's the idea of it. Like, you had that conversation with your mates, and they're like, you know, um, it's the inserting the tube. Some people, it's the idea of it, really. The fear of the unknowing and
Mm,
not being educated on how good it is for you, you know. Um, but I think I see a lot of nervous faces walk in, and most people leave being a convert. They want to continue doing it because of how good they feel.
mm,
And I have a lot of clients that actually come here to relax and they enjoy the process. The first one's the worst one because you don't know what to expect.
yeah.
Once you know what to expect, you come back and it's a completely different experience.
Mm,
And it's, people have all these questions around how they're going to feel. Is it going to hurt? It can be uncomfortable. You're softening all that waste we're holding in there. It's all built up and we're softening. It wants to move, like when you've got a bad tummy bug and you start to cramp. And that's probably the worst of it. Then we have people that are detoxing and they might feel sick because they've got all of these, toxins inside their colon,
mm,
and we're forcing them out. And you might, physically vomit, you might feel a bit nauseous. And like you were saying, you felt wiped, your body's working hard to eliminate those things. So I think those sorts of things can, scare people, but you feel so much better afterwards that, you can't deny it. You get hooked on how you feel, and it makes you more conscious of what you're putting in your body as well.
mm.
Like I know after my cleanses and you see everything come out that you've been holding on to, and you're just like, no, I want a green juice and like,
Mm.
a broth or something good, you're more
Yeah,
conscious.
your body naturally like wants it. For
Yeah.
me, like obviously, I mean, I've got a very balanced lifestyle. Like,
Mm.
I'll my life is, I'll go to a yoga class, do some psycho breathing and whatever else, and then I'll have
Mm.
chicken and chips for dinner or whatever. So, but after that, I definitely my body genuinely craved water, and it
Yes.
craved what's the opposite of oh, what's the opposite of fuck, the word's leaving me. Not alchemy.
Alkaline, acidic.
Alkaline, yes,
Yeah,
no.
yeah,
So my body was naturally craving like alkaline type foods.
yes,
Yeah,
big
so
time.
I literally after the first colonic, I think I had like a proper like full just kale salad.
Yeah,
I was craving kale, and then after I had like
yes.
I don't know grapefruit and watermelon or something. So it was really
Yeah,
yeah, it
that's
was
a great one to do. Hydrate the body.
yeah
Um, I'm big on doing the cleanse properly. Like we have lots of people that just, come in and want to do the three colonics and that's great. That's amazing.
mm,
Ultimately you're removing all of your bad bacteria as well as your good. You're getting rid of it all so you can start fresh. And it's really important to top up all that good stuff afterwards.
mm,
There's a product we have, the Probo form that I showed you, and that stuff is the Rolls Royce
yeah
of, probiotics. It's amazing because it hasn't been freeze dried. It's all raw and live. So it's really important to top up all that good stuff. But you just notice your energy levels, don't you, go up
yeah
and you start to get the nutrients from your food more because you removed all that plaque that's built up around your colon. So you absorb things and the energy and your skin's glowing and
yeah
yeah, and the emotions, So
mm,
it's people with candida, for instance,
mm,
that helps flush that out. It's good for so many things that people miss.
mm,
Gut health as well, you can see it in so many different ways that people don't realize. Not only your skin, but you might have dandruff, anxiety. So many different things are related and
mm,
it comes up in different forms. Your gut affects everything, you
yeah.
know so yeah, afterwards when you're topping up all that good nutrient stuff, you really feel it all the more.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And what are some of the like uh have you seen any sort of stories in your time at the clinic and or even in your time since you've been working with this type of work
Mm.
or you've been doing it, have you seen any like epic transformation stories where like what's been maybe one of the ones where you're like holy shit that is wowzers.
I think a highlight reel just ran through my head of so many different like transformations for different reasons.
Mm,
And I love seeing that. It just makes me so happy when I see these people come in and they're like, oh, I've tried everything, and they're sick of trying all these different things and have these different tests. And then they do this and they're like, oh my God, this has changed something that's really been impacting their life.
mm,
And that makes me so happy. I think probably a standout one, and maybe because I can relate, this girl, which she was 21, really pretty girl, and she'd just been putting on all this weight and started getting acne, and she wasn't going to the bathroom, and it was affecting her emotions, not just because they are, mostly formed in the stomach, but because she didn't feel like the person she was or how she wanted to be on the outside as well was impacting her in here. And she came in and she'd tried everything. And, we were talking, she told me her story and I was like, that happened to me, I get it. And I really hoped that it would work for her because, there can be an underlying issue, but sometimes there's just a blockage in there. And
mm,
someone's, we all overeat. We don't give our body a chance to properly digest. And over time, it's built up and it's got this blockage. And so she did the 3 colonics. I got her to go get juices up the road at Shakes. They're amazing. Get your juice cleanse. And I got her to start having green juices every morning, which I swear by, and the Probio form, the probiotics I was talking about. She called me a week later and said, Niecha, I'm going to the bathroom 3 times a day, which is,
oh,
such a quick turnaround
mm,
for something like that had been impacting her for 2 years and stopping her from living life.
mm.
She didn't want to go places, see people and all these things. And she came back and she's done more cleanses and her skin's clearing up. She's, losing that weight and she's got that spring in her step. And that just, to me, it made me so happy to see that.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Mm,
Very
mm.
cool. Very. And what about is there people that this just doesn't work for? Like, is there anyone that I don't know? Is there people that shouldn't do this?
Yeah, it's a bit like someone with diverticulitis, which is in the colon. Which, if someone was to come in here and they were unaware of that, we do give them a form that we obviously run through and see if there was anything that stood out to us that would point in that direction, that we'd prefer them to go get a test and make sure
Yeah,
that
yeah,
wasn't the case.
yeah. Mm,
But it's, a rarity. if someone was breastfeeding, and only in the second trimester of pregnancy that you can do it.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's a good thing. So pretty much everyone should do it.
Everyone should do it. I spruik this shit. Like everywhere I go, I'm like, you need to do it. It helped me so much. But seeing the transformations in my clients, I'm so passionate about it. You know, it's one thing to go and do it yourself, and you're like, that was good. I think that's pretty good. But being here and, you know, last 3 years watching the impact it has on people for so many different reasons. I am such an advocate. I tell everyone, you know, every party I go to or dinner I go to, I'm bringing up Colonics, you know, because everyone should do it. And I've convinced, you know, a fair few people to give it a go, and they do and ah. It's like one of those things that people are like, I want to try, but they get around to, you know, and it takes someone like you telling your friends or me, like forcing them to give it a go.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh my God. And now they're calling me going, can I come in, please? Because they feel so much better, you know?
Yeah. And because I know when I started, I guess, learning about spirituality and all that type of stuff, you know, Tony Robbins, he was one of my first, like, guys where it was like, oh my God, there's a way to be happy. Holy shit balls. And he's like on it, you know, I think he does it almost every day or whatever. And at all his, you know, retreats and whatever, it's just like he's pushing that stuff big time. And now it's funny because, you know, this podcast is called The BS Machine, and it's all about, you know, releasing, getting rid of all the shit out of you. But it's not just, it is that's what I've noticed just with my experience. And I'll definitely do it again. Just with this cleanse, is that I think, you know, the body it's prone to hold stuff emotionally and physically, and it really helps when on a physical level you allow the body to cleanse itself and get rid of all the shit, you know. And it's the shit that's stuck in there. It's fucking, it's shit, it's actual shit. And as that comes out, you emotionally, you sort of feel the, you know, better. You feel the release as well. Yeah.
I definitely would say that the majority of my clients that come here, aside from, you know, it's not just people with digestive issues. It's, you know, for people do it for detoxing, beauty reasons, for physical reasons as far as endurance and things. But the majority of people, the reason they are holding on to things is stress. It's like, you know, when you clench your jaw, when you're tense, your stomach's the same. You're just holding on to all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I just see, you know, as I said, that spring in the step when they come out. But the majority of people that come in here, they've, you know, got these high stress jobs and they're just holding on to all that stuff.
Oh, that's the other thing I want to ask you. After the second one or third one, I left, and for the next like 48 hours, I was horny as all fuck.
I think that's just you, babe.
Maybe it is just me. But is that like, does it get into that type of stuff as well, or not real, or is that just like me?
Well, essentially your emotions. I mean, that's part of emotions being, you know, having a sex drive. So yeah, it does cleanse all that waste you're holding on to. So why not? I guess. I haven't heard of it before, but I mean, I love that you're open to talking about it. So sure, like if you're feeling better, you're going to have a higher sex drive.
Yeah.
It just makes sense.
Yeah, totally. Yep. All right. Well, what about I don't know. Tell me something else. What else you got to tell me? Hit me, Niecha.
What else? So much. Where to start?
No, because I honestly think that that with people trying this thing out, there'd be such a big chunk of people that have thought about it.
Yeah.
And it comes up, and then they go, oh, I'll do it later. And then it comes up again the year after, and they're like, oh, maybe now. No, I'm too busy. Like, for people that are looking to, or have been fearing it or wanting to try it, I mean, what would you suggest? What's the thing? Is it just literally get in there and fucking get it done, or what do you think?
Yeah, like, you've got to remember that there's no commitment. Like, commit to yourself to do it for you. But if you're here and you didn't like the process, we can stop it. Give it a go. You know, come in here and see how great you feel. I can guarantee you that you're going to feel better. And if you're going to feel better, it's worth giving it a crack. I see so many people walk in that door and they say, I've been thinking about doing this for years. And, you know, and finally get around to and they're like, oh, why didn't I do this earlier? You know, but on the topic of like males doing it, I think it's really great. I've seen groups of men coming in together, real blokey blokes, to support each other because one didn't want to come alone. And like, for instance, I had this group of about 5 guys come in, and one of them had really bad constipation, digestive issues. And his mates were like, you need to do a colonic. And he didn't want to come alone. So they all came together. And I was like, yes, boys, that's the best.
Love it. And so, were these guys like, I don't know, tradies or were they? Oh, really? That's awesome.
They were tradies. And they were like blokey as, you know, and they came in and they were a bit like hesitant, but they all came back. You know, they did the cleanse. They felt amazing. I had another group of tradie blokes, and they'd had this speaker come in to talk about endurance because they worked long shifts, night shifts, and they're crane workers. And this guy said colonics are great for the endurance. So they all rolled in together in their tradie gear and stuff. And it was my first group of blokes. And I was like, this is a, you know, different lot. And they've all keep coming back. And they're such advocates that they've now keep sending other, you know, blokes here. And they all just, if I could have like a little recap of how they felt at the end of it, it was such a good ad for like how good that you can feel and blokes doing it. Like I love that because it's past that stigma of it, because unfortunately it is a lot of guys saying, oh, I don't want to stick that up there. But you know, it's so good for you. Why not?
Yeah, you got to stick it up there for sure.
Yeah.
And that's the only awkward bit. I mean, like in terms of the physical part of it, I felt weird too, like getting on that bed.
Yeah.
It's sort of like a lie down toilet. And then you got to, you know, lube up your ass, which is like a little bit weird. And then you stick this thing up your ass. But after it's stuck up there, you're like, you know what, it's all good. Like you don't feel anything else. It's fine.
Once you relax, you've got to remember that what's coming out of your butt's way bigger than what you're putting in there, you know, so we're all capable of it.
Yeah.
It's like when we're tense and we make it a lot more difficult. But it's, you know, when you go to the dentist and they clean out your mouth with that tiny little tube, it's exactly the same thing.
Exactly the same.
The yanker sucker.
Yeah.
Shall we go into one of the rooms and check it out?
Oh no, can we?
We can.
All right, cool. Let's do it. Let's go in there. Well, if you're watching this on YouTube, then you can follow us along. But if you're listening, I'm going to talk through what's going on. So right now, Niecha is walking us into one of the rooms, and then she's going to go into one of the rooms. There we are. And then basically, do you want to explain what's here, Niecha?
Okay, so this is our colonic bed.
Yep.
So what we do is we put our head up this way. Can you see, Tommy?
I can see, yes.
Yeah. So we put our head up this way, our legs up this way, and we lay on our back, undressed from the waist down. It's all very private. You're in the room alone, inserting the tube. We give you the glove.
The lubricant
here.
The glove to lube the ass up.
Lube up.
Love it.
Put that on your bottom area.
And then give us a look at that little tube that we stick up into the... oh, there's the tube. Wow.
There's
so basically this tube, you only stick like basically, I don't know, maybe the length of your hand, it sort of goes up there.
Not even, Stephen.
Not even,
so it's it would be attached on the bed. So we pop it on the bed like that.
Yeah.
And so there's only one way to insert it. And you just put it to just before the curve there. So you're inserting it from the top end there.
Just before it starts to feel really good.
Exactly. Exactly.
And then you basically, and the water that comes out of that tube it's like just a little trickle, isn't it? It's not like a force.
It's a gentle tap. Exactly. It's all gravity fed. So it is so gentle. It's just like when you turn, you tap on gently.
Yeah.
And then, we also give you this to cover up with, so no one can see anything.
No.
It's all very private, and I'm a buzz away. So I come in, explain everything to them, and then there's a buzzer next to you. And if you need me to come look after you or whatever, I do so and come check in on you. But with the view tube.
There's the view tube. I love the view tube.
And and people saying, oh, I'm not going to look, and I come back in and they're glued to the tube. Who doesn't want to see what they've been holding on to? That's what you're here to do. Get rid
I
of
know.
it.
I had this thing. It almost looked like a little worm. I'm like, fucking, what's that? Holy shit.
Yeah, and that's probably a parasite. A lot of us have parasites and we have no idea we have them, and they're sucking away at our nutrients.
Yeah.
So it takes away our energy levels. I remember that retreat I went to. There was this girl, beautiful girl, and she'd had all these emotional issues, and she was very thin. She was unwell, and she couldn't figure out why. And she did the colonics, and she had this big emotional release, and she wasn't expecting it. She was crying, and she came out, and she was like, "What was that?"
Yeah.
And she continued with a parasite cleanse, which is amazing, and I think everyone should do that. There's a couple of different types of cleanses that where we should definitely talk about. The gallbladder cleanse is great too, but the parasite cleanse is this stuff you can take, and you do about 10 colonics with it. She went and did it at another clinic. This is before I worked here, and she got out a meter-long parasite that had been living in her, sucking away at her nutrients. She is a different person.
Crazy.
She looks better, and she doesn't have those emotional issues anymore. And that just says how much the gut is related.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So good. So yeah, very big on doing the parasite cleanse. There's a lot of people that say that we all have them in there, you know, and it's a little breeding ground when we've got that bad bacteria as well. But the gallbladder cleanse is amazing. There's this book, and you can look it up. You can look it up on YouTube. Heaps of people have done it. You can just give it a Google. But the gallbladder cleanse, I haven't done it. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I'll practice what I preach. But I've seen it transform people that had, you know, been told that their liver and gallbladder wasn't functioning well enough. They're really ill, and they opted to do it this way. And this one guy, he lost, I think it was about 12 kilos doing this cleanse. He was told that, you know, it was fatal if he didn't get his gallbladder in sync. And he comes regularly now. And this guy's eyes are crystal clear. He's a picture of health. He's an older guy, and he would, you know, cut laps around the two of us, you know. He's full of beans now. It's changed his life.
Yeah, very cool.
There's like a drink that they have along with I think it's grapefruit juice and olive oil. Sounds awful.
Yeah.
But transforming. You know,
crazy. Yeah,
these are another one of my little faves. These ones. Yeah. So these, when I say an ultimate cleanse, I like to do a juice cleanse. 7 days is optimum, but 2 days before the colonic. And I'll do juicing the whole time. When it's cold and it's winter, chuck those soups in there. Get some green tea. Anything that's warming as well is great. Yeah. But I do the 3 colonics and 3 infrared saunas, and I use those foot patches. So they're Chinese medicine. And as I was saying before, you know, when you're eliminating your toxins, it comes out your skin. But our feet are so connected as well to so many different parts of the body. So you put them on the bottom of your feet while you're sleeping, and they help draw out all the toxins. Yeah. And then there's this other great thing that's only a couple of dollars you can get, and it's a tongue scraper, because that's where else we kind of purge all our toxins. And scraping that off in the morning. So doing all of that together, heaven. I wish I had a photo of me before I did my cleanses and after. Different person.
So cool. Yeah, well, Niecha, so good to have you on. Like, it's just so good to sort of dive into this thing and really get into it. I know, you know, I've had a number of messages when I put all that stuff up on Instagram going, you know, my God, well, you know, I'd love to do it, but I'm scared or whatever. So, you know, this is... that's why I wanted to get you on the potty, because there's so many people that are fearing it. So I reckon now, you know, they'll dive in. So I don't know, I guess all my listeners, I mean, I've got listeners all over the world, but my listeners in Melbourne, if you're going to go anywhere, Colin Irrigation in Armadale, get in there and go see Niecha. She'll give you a big smiley ass face. And that doesn't mean you've got an ass face. That's like a smiley ass face.
Thanks, babe. Thanks.
Not a smiley ass face. That's not the first one. But and yeah, she'll help you out. But they're awesome in there, and so get in there. But yeah, so cool to have you on, Niecha. Really good.
Thanks, Tommy. And we'd love to have anyone come down, and we will look after you. There is no fear, and there's nothing to fear. You know, it's all the unknown.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm here to look after everyone, and you can come in, have a chat, give us a call. We're here to answer all of your questions, so yeah, we'd love to hear from anyone that wants to come down and check us out.
Nice, Niecha. Love it, love it. All right, well, I will see you on my next colon cleanse, babe.
I'll see you then, Dal.
Thanks, Niecha.
Thanks, Tommy. Thanks.